Hello there everyone, it's George from ALM Fitness. Now in today's video we are doing, if you're not aware already, if you haven't already seen on our channels, on our Instagram, on our Facebook page, we're doing an ALM Advent where we're doing days of Christmas. We are essentially giving out little fitness tips, things like that, evidence-based fitness tips or lifestyle tips that we think can help you, give you a little bit of knowledge and kind of give you something for the day, perhaps something that you maybe didn't know to do with health and fitness. So today's video is going to be about protein intake. Now it could be seen quite boring if you just hear that, oh, I don't want to hear about, I've got to eat a lot of protein and things like that. What we've kind of got to think more about is just how important protein intake is, and I don't think perhaps everyone realizes quite the benefits because maybe they're not as widely kind of spoken about outside the kind of evidence-based fitness community. So when we're talking about protein intake, generally speaking, the groups that it will help the most to have a really high protein intake is people who are trying to lose weight in terms of fitness goals, because when we have a high protein intake, high protein meals and high protein foods generally have a better result on our satiety, so how hungry we feel afterwards. It tends to dampen that a little bit compared with, let's say, a high carbohydrate snack or something like that. So if we have a meal with a lot of protein in, we're going to feel fuller for longer, and then that helps us in the long term lose weight because we're then lowering our overall calories, which is the main driver for fat loss. So protein intake, really crucial to weight loss, and perhaps you didn't really think I would start with that, because when people think about protein, they often think about kind of muscle building and things like that, and that is another aspect that I will mention now, important for muscle building. If you're going to the gym or if you're weight training at home, wherever you're weight training, if you are lifting weights and you are breaking down the muscle, you're lifting weights effectively, a high protein intake is going to be crucial to essentially rebuild that muscle. Now, again, the exact number of how much protein you should be taking is debated by some. It's kind of roughly in the kind of ballpark of one gram per pound of body weight. So whatever your body weight is in pounds, not in kilograms, that's key, in pounds, around about 1 gram to match that for protein is kind of what you're going to be looking for if you're a resistance trained person. Again, that will differ depending on who you hear that advice from, but that's kind of the rule of thumb. I think that's the simplest way to think about it, and it's not going to be too far off anyway. What you'll find is the recommendations by the government, by the National Health Service and things like that will often recommend significantly lower than that, and the research suggests that that really shouldn't be the case. Research actually suggests that even for people who aren't resistance training, that protein intake should be a little bit higher, but also the research suggests that for people who are resistance training, people who are active, that should just be way higher than it is outlined for on if you were to Google it on an official government website, how much protein should I be taking in. So I wouldn't say just ignore that. That's more of kind of a minimum amount really. If you are active, I would say definitely upping that protein intake. It's going to help with your muscle building. If you're trying to lose fat, it's going to help with that. And also if you're trying to lose fat, it's going to help you hang on to the muscle that you potentially might lose if you're in quite a drastic kind of fat loss phase. Okay, your body doesn't really discriminate when it comes to losing weight. It won't just lose fat, it will lose a little bit of muscle as well. And the higher your protein intake whilst you're dieting and obviously your resistance training as well, you're going to hang on to a lot more of that muscle. So very important that we think about protein intake, making sure we're getting enough in. I'm not going to go through all of the sources of protein that we've got at the moment, because obviously people have different dietary requirements and things like that. And I think we're all aware that our meats and things like that are going to be the best bang for our buck in terms of protein. But there are so many different ways that we can get our protein in, protein shakes and other kind of vegan, vegetarian options as well. So lots of ways we can get more protein in. But I would say the main point of this video is just to start prioritizing that protein intake and making sure that it is almost the first thing we think about when we think about our diet. Probably very similar to how we would think about a calorie deficit if we're trying to lose weight. So thanks guys, hope we've enjoyed that, and look out for the next Advent video.